Hi everyone, this is Oph. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. My cohort, my co-host, excuse me, my cohort, my co-host. Can you tell I work at a university? Lucas is not here tonight. He's a high school teacher, and they are in Tech Week for a show. The high school play. They're doing the Crucible, so he's very exhausted. I don't know if they open tonight or if they open tomorrow night, but either way, Lucas, good luck. Hope your cast breaks many legs. Just a reminder that Simply Scadian is about people who do not have peerages in the SCA. So we have regular folk in the SCA because we feel like they have just as much to share, just as much to offer um, as everybody else. So now it's saying that we were not live, but I think we're live. So I'm just going to keep talking. So it's acting very weird. Hey, everybody, if you can hear me, tell me you can hear me somehow. It keeps not going live.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm noticing
we're
bouncing
recording,
in and
so
out
if
of there.
worse comes to worse,
Post it
we'll
later. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we'll post it later. Okay. So now we're supposedly are really live. Um Oh no, we were. Okay. So, thanks everybody. So, here we are. We are looking for guests though. If you have recommendations of guests, please let us know. We have a form you can fill out on Google Forms, which you can find the link on Simply Skating No Title Required Facebook page. Or you can just directly message us if you are interested in being a guest or if you know somebody that should be a guest. Please, please, please let us know. So people are now seeing us, so now I can get back to talking to our guest. But first, his bio. The Honorable Scottish Lord Davock Walker. I didn't ask you how to say the last name. Is it Walker?
Walker, just Walker.
Walker, oh, resides in the Shire of Vulpin Reach, Meridies. He is a man of many talents spanning all three branches of the SCA. In the martial sphere, he is a warranted live weapons marshal and an archer. In the arts and sciences, he loves doing fiber arts, among which are weaving and kumihimo, and is skilled in lapidary, which he does with his beloved wife, Diana Fiona O'Shara. In his free time, he is a minstrel, specializing not only in singing, but in playing a multitude of different instruments. In his tenure in the SCA, he has held a number of offices in his local shire and is known around the known world as one of the hosts of the weekly Friday night Bardic. He is an apprentice to Master, I'm going to let you say it.
Olahan McLoman.
Ooh, I would have totally messed that up. Also of Meridies. Mundanely, Randy Walker hails from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is a classically trained singer who loves Celtic folk music. He performs both as a solo artist and as the male lead in the Celtic band Ulta. Randy and his wife Diane joined the SCA in 1986, just before me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's jump right in. The first question everybody gets asked: how did you find the SCA?
Well, it's a little complicated. Uh, it was kind of a multi-step process, actually. We had seen, first of all, there was a, 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 a television magazine kind of program called PM Magazine years and years ago. And one of the deal was they had hosts in every market where they were showing it, and the host would do a local program, a local segment that then got distributed to all of the markets where it was done. So somebody did on PM Magazine a segment on the SCA, and my then girlfriend, fiance actually, and I first saw that. It's like, oh, that would be cool. That would be lots of fun. Um, I had done madrigal dinners at university with one of the university ensembles I was in, and it's like that would be like madrigal dinner all year round. That's cool. That'd be fun. And then shortly after we saw that segment um, on one of the local broadcast stations, there was a PSA for the local Shire of Vulpine Reach. But it went by quick, and I never got a chance to write down the contact information for for the Shire. It turns out that the guy who did the PSA uh, worked for that particular TV station, and I could have called the station and found out, but I didn't find that out until we actually linked up with the group.
And of course, everybody note the fact that back then we didn't have an internet, so he couldn't have just searched the internet
Right.
for it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
This was 85, 86. Actually, this was probably 80. We saw that PM Magazine story a couple of years before we found the SCA. So that was probably 83, 84, something like that we first saw that. And then, because I think it was before we got married, because we got married in 84. And so it was a couple of years before we actually caught up with the group. We went to our first science fiction convention in January of 86. That was Chattacon. And at Chattacon, we saw, oh, on the program guide, there was a an SCA demo. We know who that is. We've been looking for them. We're going to that, and we did, and that's how we found the local shire, and we've been involved ever since.
So you've always lived in that. That's rare because most Scadians tend to move around. So you've always lived where you live.
Yes, yeah. We have never lived anywhere other than this county. We've lived in inside the city limits of Chattanooga. We've lived in the suburb of Red Bank, which is where we actually live right now. We've also lived in another suburb called Hickson. Both of these are actually like literally suburbs of Chattanooga. But we have kind of bounced around a little bit within the county, but stayed within our local county.
So what drew you to it? What was the thing that got you to attend and what's kept you in for over 30 years?
Well, like I said, I had done magical dinners, medieval themed magical dinners at university when I was a student music major, and and that kind of got me interested in the period, doing some of the music that we did, and just it was just fun to do, and so that was kind of the initial hook. When we first got active, I did fight for a while. It got to the point though where it was getting hard on my hands, and as a musician, I couldn't have that. And so I decided, nah, better give that up. And so I haven't fought in years. Although I did authorize as a combat archer. Never really did that, but I did authorize for that. Um, but friendships are what keep us going. The fun that we have doing what we do. There there's enough different things that are period activities that can keep anybody. If you just try, it can keep anybody interested for a lifetime.
Right. So but now you do fencing, correct?
No, I
Oh,
do
no,
archery.
archery. Excuse me, archery.
Yep, I do archery. Uh, Reach out and punch paper over yonder. It's fun. It's a challenge. It's a physical challenge to do. It just building the skills. And I'm the local archery marshal. I've been an archery marshal for years. Um, One of my best friends was the one who actually taught me archery. He and his wife were in the SCA too. They actually met within the SCA.
Nice.
I met each other within the SCA. And James Toxophilus was his SCA name. Uh, we actually brought him into the SCA in the first place. We introduced him to it in the first place. So,
Nice. So what is it about archery that challenges you this many years down the road in the SCA?
well, it's it's fun, and you can always feel like you can make a better shot. I can do that better, and I gotta keep trying till I do it better. And there's always room for self improvement on it, and that's the continual personal challenge to it. Like I said, it's just fun. And the thing is, that as I'm getting older, it's something that I can keep doing. There are people who have continued archery into their 90s and into the past the century mark. It's doable, and it's just a matter of having the right equipment to to be able to keep going as long as you can. I don't shoot a really heavyweight bow. I don't need to. I'm punching paper over yonder. I don't have to have more than a 35-pound bow. And that 35-pound bow, I can keep drawing for a long, long time.
Okay, so here's the ignorant, I don't know much about archery question. When you say 35-pound bow, what does the 35-pound mean?
Okay, I'm going to kind of turn sideways to kind of demonstrate this. When you got the bow and bow's in this hand, right? Strings here, all right. Pulling back, the amount of force that I'm having to pull with this hand to hold the string back here
Mhm.
is 35 pounds of force.
So what decides that poundage? Like what is it, the bow itself? Is it the curve of the bow? Is it the bow string material? What makes it 35 pounds?
It's not the bowstring material, but it is the shape of the bow and the materials of the bow, the overall geometry of it, how the bow is constructed. Um, there is I'll toss a fancy term out there, and I'll explain it. Tillering.
Ooh.
When you're making a bow that is all one piece, also referred to as a self bow or a longbow. A longbow is a type of self bow, but it's all one piece. Although a lot of longbows, in fact, mine has a linen backing on it, so the side that faces the target actually has linen glued on it to strengthen it. But um, one of the ways that you control the 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 weight, the draw weight of the bow, and keep kind of get to where the limbs bend evenly instead of one side bending more than the other, is you kind of shave off parts of the inside of the curve of that so that it it draws the weight you want it to, and it draws evenly across the bow. Right? And that shaving action is called tillering.
Huh. So because I have a Hungarian persona, I keep wanting to get a Hungarian bow so I can start shooting archery, but I can't afford it yet. So that's on my wish list, is to get.
Well, and the thing is, like I said, um, especially for someone who is just starting out or um, doesn't shoot much, a relatively lightweight bow is fine. Because again, you're just punching paper over yonder. It doesn't have to be a bow that you can kill a bear with, or hunt a deer with. Uh, to do those activities, you do need a higher draw weight bow, but to punch paper over yonder, you really don't.
So what about arrows? Is that how hard is it to make your own arrows and what's involved in that process?
Depends on how much you do yourself. Okay. Um, I tend to buy my parts and assemble them. Okay. So I will buy the wooden shafts from a supplier, and I will buy the field tips that glue on, and I do use modern knocks. I don't tend not to do self knocks.
What is a
Self knocks,
knock? Wait, you're talking to a totally,
right?
I will
Okay. The,
periodically,
the all right. If you notice on the back end of an arrow, there's a little U-shaped cutout at the very back where that snaps onto a string.
right, right, okay. That's
That's
called a
my
knock.
knock. That's the knock.
Oh.
A modern knock is actually a separate piece that you glue on to a wooden shaft. Okay, and so I use a modern knock. That's not a period technique, but that's what I have done so far. Now, a period technique would be to actually take the actual shaft, the back end of the actual shaft, and cut that notch into it. All right. So that's called a self knock. I have not done that. Well, okay. I have, just not on arrows I normally use. I have done some that for a specific purpose, but not on my normal arrows.
Now, what about I think it's called the fletching?
Fletching, yes. There is a tool that you use to help align the feathers on the arrow shaft as you're putting them on. It's called a jig, a fletching jig, and so you use that to attach, to align up the feathers as you're putting it on, and you just go around the arrow to put it on at the proper places.
So if somebody was going to start out with archery, how many arrows should they have to start? And I know most groups will have loaner gear for
Right.
people, loaner bows and loaner arrows and everything else. But how many arrows do you, I won't say how many arrows do you have because I'm sure you have hundreds at this point, but
I don't have as many as some people have, but I have a bunch. Um, but a dozen arrows is a good number to start with. Okay. A lot of shoots will use 6 arrows. Like for example, one of the common competitions that's an interkingdom competition is the Interkingdom Archery Competition, or IKAC, and um, there that uses 6 arrow rounds, ends we call them actually, where you'll shoot 6 arrows at a time, and then you go score. All right. So and there's also something that we kind of keep an ongoing score of called a royal round. A royal round is um, a 6 arrow end that with no time limit within reason, um, at 20 yards, at 30 yards, and at 40 yards, and then a 30-second end, as many arrows as you can shoot in 30 seconds at 20 yards. All right. Now, if you can shoot 9 arrows in 30 seconds, more power to you. Good on you. Go for it. That's perfectly fine, as long as you can shoot them in 30 seconds. Me, 5 arrows is usually what I get off in 30 seconds. But that's fine. You're still shooting for score. So, but typically, like I said, you're going to use 6 arrows. At a lot of competitions are going to use 6 arrows per round. Um, some will use fewer than that, and some will let you use a dozen if you want. It just depends on the particular competition because they do vary. I ran one at our event back in August that was for each archer, you got 2 arrows to shoot for this round. That's it. But it was 4 people on a team.
oh,
Yeah, it was 4 archers per team. So the team had 8 arrows, but each archer only had 2. So, like I said, different shooters will do different things. It just varies.
so I have to explain to everybody, including you, I keep yawning. It's not you, it's me. I usually go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, so I'm up at 5 a.m. So I'm a sleepy Zoph. My brain is just staying oxygenated for you because I find this absolutely fascinating. So, what is the big war for you? Do you go to Gulf Wars?
I don't. Partly because that happens the week that usually includes St. Patrick's Day. As you mentioned when you were reading my bio, I have a band that plays Celtic music. Guess when our busy season is?
Right, that whole time period.
Our,
Yeah.
our biggest gig of the year happens uh, the weekend, one weekend either side of that particular week, and so and the other weekend of that particular event, because we play this event at Rock City that I mentioned to you before. Um, they have a 2 weekend event around St. Patrick's Day, and my band plays it every year. And the weekend or the days, whether it's the same weekend or different weekends, the days that I'm not on stage, I'm behind the soundboard. So I help our sound guy do that too. So Yeah. So as long as I've got the band, probably not going to make it to Gulf
To Gulf
Wars.
Wars.
We have actually historically not made it to wars very much. We've been to border raids a couple of times. That is border raids between Meridians and Midrealm. Um, we our Shire actually hosted border raids one time.
Nice.
That was a long, long time ago. It was at Camp Coleman, and that was a long way from Chattanooga. Um, because it was for anybody who doesn't know where Camp Coleman is, it is in Fort Knox, Kentucky,
Oh, wow.
which is way up at the top edge of Kentucky, and Chattanooga is way down at the bottom edge of Tennessee. So we had to cross two states to get there to host the event. Now, that was fun, but we managed. It worked. I ran the archery that day. Uh,
So Penzic is not an event that you go to either.
it isn't. Partly it is time off, from work, and partly it is expense. We just haven't been able to afford to do it.
It's yeah, it's especially coming from far away and needing to get a trailer or have a big van. Yeah, it's difficult. All right, so we have mentioned now that you are a musician. So let's talk about the, what instruments do you play? Because that's why you were recommended to me because somebody knew you from the Meridier's Bardic Friday nights and said you have to get this person on. He's incredible. So what instruments do you play?
Well, my primary instrument is voice.
Okay.
That is my actual training. I hold a bachelor's of music and vocal performance. Um, so that's my educational background as far as music is concerned. I also play guitar. I play Irish whistle. I play recorder. I play baldron. I have a mandolin that I haven't done a lot with. I can play some stuff on it. I've got a quattro that I bought in Venezuela, which is actually a period instrument. It is very, very, very late period, but it's period.
What is it? What kind of instrument is it? Stringed?
Oh, it is a stringed instrument. The quattro is actually, um, by some accounts, and not all accounts, but by some accounts, uh, it was the inspiration for the ukulele. It looks like a ukulele,
Oh, okay. I play the ukulele. All right.
it's actually tuned differently. The ukulele has two high pitched strings, uh, one on either side. Uh, the quattro has two low pitched strings, one on either side. Yeah, and so yeah, it's actually easy for a guitarist to pick up and play because uh, um, a valid fingering for the four highest pitched strings on a guitar is a valid fingering for the same type of chord on a quattro. It's just not the same key. It's like playing a guitar with a capo.
Okay. Got it.
All right. So any guitarist, once you figure that out, can pick up a quattro and play it like that, no problem. And the traditional way to play it is with a fast strum, so you're not even trying to pick, flat pick or fingerstyle pick anything out on it. You're just strumming it. That actually was, according to the stories, one of the accounts that I've heard. Um, somebody, it was the quattro was invented by a Portuguese sailor, according to what I read. And again, a traditional method of playing is a fast strum. Now, somebody on a sailing ship stopped at the Hawaiian Islands and had one of these things, according to the story. I've heard other origin stories for the ukulele, but this is the one. This is the one that involves the quattro. Um, the Hawaiian people saw this instrument, heard this instrument, and loved it. And the fast strum made them think of a flea jumping. So they went out and made their own version of it and called it jumping flea, which in Hawaiian is ukulele.
No way. That is so cool. I wonder if that's true. I love it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story. I love it.
All right.
So, but yeah, yeah. So I've got that, and that's so I've got that. And I played that some. Let's see. Um, I mentioned ball run. I play rhythm bones. Um, I play a lot of odd little things. Actually, I've got a shakuhachi, which is a Japanese recorder, sort of. Um, I've got a colonial fife and a simple system bamboo flute. Um, that's almost a cheat though, because the bamboo flute fingers just like the penny whistle does.
Oh, so that's not hard for you then.
It's not that okay. The fingering isn't hard. The embouchure is what is what's different. Embouchure is how you uh, basically how you hold your mouth, how you produce the sound the, with the wind on the instrument on a wind instrument. So um, every wind instrument has its own type of embouchure that you need, and a flute is one of the more difficult ones to get right.
Yeah,
It's
because of that.
yeah, you're blowing kind of like blowing over the top of a bottle.
Yeah, but
That
I'll tell you what, it came in great. Knowing how to play the flute came in so handy when we started having to wear masks. Because that's how you breathe, wearing a mask so your glasses don't fog up. All right, go ahead.
that's true. That's true. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Yeah, that having to wear a mask was the bane of the existence of everybody who wears glasses.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's talk about your singing then. I mean, what if I'm at a Bardic Circle, what am I going to hear you performing? What kind of pieces?
I do a variety of things. I do some period stuff. I've got a version of um, well, went right out of my head. I hate it when that happens.
Oh,
I've got some stuff that I do that's period. I've got some Celtic stuff that I do. I've got some funny stuff that I do. Um, like I said, I do a variety of things. Some SCA filk. Um, like I said, it just depends on the mood of the room at the time, or the mood of me at the time. um, either of which could go sideways, and you just don't ever know what's going to happen. But because the mood of a room can go sideways in a hurry, and strange things, shenanigans happen when the
oh
mood of the room
yeah.
goes sideways.
Do they happen a lot on the Meridiers Bardic Circle, Bardic Zooms?
Occasionally, I mean, we rarely go completely sideways, but there have been shenanigans. Yeah, yeah.
Were you part of the whole Bardic War-ness that happened last
Was
year?
I was involved in the Bardic War. I actually logged a lot of hours as a volunteer host, and I participated in some other ways as well. It was a lot of fun. In fact, we were in the Zoom room watching the chat when the thing actually uh, got was all brought up in the first place, because it was a mid-round Bardic showcase, I think it was. Seems like
It
that.
was it wasn't Mid-Realm Bardic Showcase, it was like Bards of the World Showcase because my apprentice Lucier, who's from DC, was part of it. So it was like bards from all over the place.
It was bards from all over the place, but it was actually hosted by Midrealm, if you
Was it
remember.
hosted by the Mid-Realm?
It was
Okay.
hosted by Midrealm. That was actually part of the deal, because there were several from Atlantia that were there. I was in there, but although I wasn't performing, but there were several from Atlantia that were performing. There were some from East, but there were bards from several different places that were on the performing list, and so in the chat, this whole discussion of, oh, we have all these Atlantean bards, maybe we should hold them for ransom or something like that, and the 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 war broke out in the chat during that showcase. It was hilarious. We were we were watching the whole thing and just dying, absolutely dying. So yeah, when the whole thing actually happened, when the Bardic War actually came up, it's like, all right, we're going to do this. Yeah, we were involved. We were both actually working as volunteer hosts for it.
I thought you looked familiar to me. We must have met each other at some point during the Bardic War because I did a couple of performances for it.
Oh, it's entirely possible. We were there for the whole week, so yeah.
Nice. So the Bardic War, I don't even know how to describe this to our listeners who've never seen it. The Bardic War was between the Mid and the East. Was it not? And then they got allies?
Well, it was originally between the East not the East, the Midrealm and Atlantia,
That's
and
okay.
Atlantia allied with East.
There you go.
All right,
Okay.
and there were other kingdoms that allied that way, and then there were several that allied with the Middle, and it was a hoot. It was an
And it
absolute
was this week-long competition, which
yeah.
with competitions like every day for all sorts of different things, and I was
Classes
in a couple of them.
classes all over the place.
Mhm.
It was a wonderful week. It was lots and lots of fun
And lots of work.
and lots of work, and it was all online. So we could all do it. We would go to work during the day and come home, after work, and okay, here we are. We're back on the, logging back into the Bardic War and
Yeah,
doing the thing every
it was
evening.
awesome. So, how has Zoom changed Bardic in the SCA, or has it?
Oh, it has. It has. To me, things that once would have spread slowly. All right, when opportunities to hear people that are out of kingdom, you would have had to go to a war. You would have had to go to a border skirmish. You would have had to go to an out of kingdom event to hear somebody perform from out of kingdom. You don't have to now. We have, okay, a typical online Bardic Circle that I see will have people from um, Riddiers, Midrealm, Palantir, Anciora, Ethelmark, North Shield, let's say Atlantia East, Kaid, Antir, uh,
So from all over the known world. I mean, I know that
all
there have been
over.
some folks from Lockhack even who've
Yeah, Lockhack. Yeah, we've had a couple people from Lockhack that bounce in from time to time. Um, yeah, literally, we have met people all over the world through the online Bardic circles, and it is amazing. We have friends now that we would never have met otherwise. Absolutely not have likely not have met, and some of these people we have only met online. Although that actually is kind of funny because um, we were at a Knoxville event, Thor's Mountain event, um, here about a month and a half ago, and we were on our way up. We only day tripped the event, but we were going to stay at a hotel that night. Well, we had found out ahead of time that some people that we knew through the online Bardic circles were going to be in the greater Knoxville area for a wedding. The event, they were going to be there for a wedding. And so Diana got a text on what as we were on our way up to the event
Flute.
that
Um,
they, we
that's almost a cheat though, because the bamboo flute.
oh, I got some weird sound coming in.
That was me. I somebody pinged me and told me that my audio is weird, so I pulled out my headset.
Okay,
Go ahead. All you.
sorry, that was distracting. But anyway, so Diana got a text that yes, we would love to meet up with you, on the Sunday afternoon if we could work it out. And so we were able to do that. We had, like I said, we stayed in a hotel that night and kind of puttered around until we got a chance to visit with them. They came over because where we were was kind of on their way home, so they swung by where we were, and we met up with two couples that we had only known through the online Bardic circles, but we actually met them in person. This is the only time we've actually met them in person. But we met them just, we were hanging out for about an hour or so, that Sunday afternoon. They all had to get on the road because one couple lives in Toledo, although the wife of that couple is actually taking care of her mother in Huntsville, Alabama, so she was headed back the other way. Um, and then the other couple lives in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, I think. So yeah, they're they had a long way to go, but I
Yeah.
think they were going to spend the night with in Toledo with at their house. But so that was a wonderful opportunity, and we were so glad that we got a chance to do that. But that's rare. I mean, that's of the what 3 or 4 dozen people we have met through the online Bardic circles. Those two couples are the only ones that we have actually met in person that we didn't already know in person.
Well, now I'm not surprised on why you were recommended to come on the show because it sounds to me like you have really embraced the whole online Bardic.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We uh, partly due to finances, but also partly due to just schedule. Diana and I haven't been able to do a lot of traveling in the SCA. We have, we tend to go to the Thor's Mountain and Knoxville group events because that's where our household is. Um, we have gone to events with the Nashville group. We've done some south of here, but we haven't done a whole lot of travel. Just like I said, partly time, partly money. Um, but with the online stuff, we've been traveling all over the known world. I mean, we've been to online collegia. We have been to online Bardic circles all over the place. We've been to circles um, in Drachenwald. We've been to circles uh, all over North America. Um, there's one that we tend to go to regularly, although I think we're going to miss it this time around, up in uh, Calgary, Alberta, actually. Uh, Mountain is the group, the barony up there, and they do a monthly Bard Hard with Mountain Guard Bardic Circle that we really enjoy. We made friends up there, and so um, that's Avocal, Kingdom of Avocal. So we go up there on a regular basis, like that. Like I said, this month we're probably not going to make it because we've got conflict that night. Um, but then we regularly go to one that's hosted out of Atlantia. There's a Tuesday night one there. There's one there's a Saturday night every other week that's hosted out of Mid Realm
Yep.
that we go to some. That's Hillis. And then on the alternating weeks, there's another one that we go to frequently that's out of Callantier. Um,
So you're
there,
busy.
yeah, yeah. We're typically 2 to 3 nights a week. I'm right here doing yeah, doing a Bardic circle. Um, or if I'm not here doing it right now, we're taking care of my mom, and so we're spending time at her house mostly. So sometimes I'm over there um, doing it, checking in through my phone and singing that way. But that
So
works too.
if somebody wanted to, okay, they said my volume, my sound is better. Thank you for letting me know, friends. So if somebody was like, "Hey, so I'm kind of curious about Bardic, but I'm not sure about this online thing. What I mean, I'm always a big fan of just jumping both feet first. Like just do it. But if I want to be a bard and I don't know anything about being a bard, where should I start? Where would I find material? Where's a good place especially because of your persona. Let's say I have a Scottish persona. Where would I find Scottish material?
Well, there are a lot of sources out there, but as far as let me address two different things that you
Merged into
hit on
one
there.
question. Yeah, I'm good with that.
How to get started doing it? The best way to get your feet wet is to come in audience only. On these Bardic circles online, you can, when you come in, and say, I don't think I'm ready to perform yet, but I just want to listen and kind of watch to see how things go. And that's perfectly fine. We absolutely welcome anyone who wants to come and listen. In fact, Diana is audience only all the time. She will sometimes make requests, but she is not herself a performer. And that's perfectly fine. And everybody in the circles that we frequent know that, so they're not going to bug her about it, and we wouldn't bug her, but we wouldn't bug anybody about it anyway. Well, mostly, I have, but it was a kind of a rare thing. But usually it's like no, even someone who regularly performs is like they're not feeling that night. It happens, Kick back, enjoy, it's fine because not everybody feels good every night. But so my recommendation for someone who wants to kind of get a feel for it is come and listen. All right. And it may happen that as you're sitting there and enjoying and listening, it's like, hey, I want to do something. And then you change your mind, you want to be in the rotation, that's fine too. You just let us know. All right. And whoever's hosting, just let the host know. Say, hey, I'm ready to be added to the rotation if you don't mind. Sure, come on in. All right, and this is going to be your spot here. How the rotation goes, of course, we're not in a physical circle, so we can't just say, all right, we're going to start here and go that way, because there really isn't a that way.
Right.
All right, so we have to come up with some way to do the rotation. Um, One common way anymore is alphabetical order by the name on the screen, and that's fine. That works. Some circles will do it by the order that you came into the room in the first place, and whatever works for the host is fine. All right, just keep it going. Some will put a list out there and say you sign up, take a turn, and that's fine too. Not my preference, but some work. A circle that gets really really big, that actually works best. Uh, but yeah, that it varies. How it's done, it varies. As far as finding material, um, part of that is going to be listening to what other people are doing. All right, and getting ideas. There are several websites out there that have SCA, commonly done SCA music. Some of it is uh, SCA Filk or new written SCA music. Um, some of it is adaptations of period music. Some of it, but there are sites out there. There is a really big one hosted out of Callantyre that is called Callan Song. Great source for stuff. Mostly, she has put lyrics, but she's also put um, MIDI files for the tunes, so you can listen to them and hear how the tune is actually supposed to go. So that's a great resource. There's Midrealm Bards and Friends. There's a website that called that has a bunch of lyrics on it. And there, if you happen to think of a period song that you want to look up the words for, 95% they're going to be out there on the web somewhere.
Yeah. Google is your friend, or DuckDuckGo.
Yes, absolutely. Google is your friend. Um, Been plenty of times like, hey, I want to add that song to my repertoire. Where are those words? There they are. Okay. Or
Right.
that's
Oh, and we
exactly
should
like what I
also shout out the SCA Bardic on Facebook. The SCA Bardic group on Facebook is a really great resource.
Yeah.
Really, people
SC
are,
Bardic Arts Unofficial, is that the one you're talking about?
yeah,
Yes.
uh-huh.
That's a great Facebook page. I'm on there. In fact, that's one of the places I put notices out for when I'm hosting Friday Night Bardic. Is on there. We put notices. Rojas, the Honorable Lady Rojas de Ravenscroft, is the other host, weekly host. So she and I trade off weeks. Master William Brewer was the one that actually started Friday Night Bardic, but he kind of came down with an attack of life,
Mm,
and so he's kind of had to back away from it for a bit. And he'll show up from time to time, but mostly he leaves the hosting to us, and that's fine. But yeah, because
mm.
we all have attacks of life from time to time. It's going to happen, and so we're sensitive to that, and we respect it, and it's all good. Um, and Rojas and I love love doing it, and want to keep on going, and want to make it available for people. It's a resource. It is a venue to give people an opportunity to maybe step out of their comfort zone, but in a non-threatening place.
Right.
We try to keep it uh, welcoming and open to everyone.
That's great. All right, I want to give a shout out to Taliesin, who has posted links to all of these in the chat for the video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're awesome.
Allie is wonderful. She is one of our mainstays on Friday Night Bardic, and she's one of the hosts for the Tegan and Tally's Tuesday night Bardic Tea, and she hosts one of the every other week Saturday night Bardic Circles. So
All right, so I really I hate this because we only have like 10 minutes left, but I
okay,
really want to ask you one other question
okay.
before we get to the final question. And the question is, you are an apprentice and also the member of a household. How has that changed the game for you in the SCA? What does that mean for you to be an apprentice and then therefore a member of a household?
It it gives me someone that I can go to, and someone I can use as a sounding board and as a resource. But it also gives me a built-in group of friends that uh, I can I can count on having a place at the feast table. I know if I go up to Master Olhan and say, hey, we've got some time. You want to play some music? Let's go. Let's do it. And we're going to. It's going to happen. Or um, Master Olhan is also an archer, so we'll spend time at the archery range. And um, so, yeah, for me, being an apprentice is having someone that shares a lot of the same interests that I share. And someone I can talk to about those interests, about getting some ideas for where to go, what to do for them. But like I said, also just the friendship and being part of their household.
How many people are in the household?
I've kind of lost count because it's kind of gone up and down. Some people have graduated out and are peers themselves now. Um, Unfortunately, Master Olahan and Mr. Solanor have not been able to be as active lately
Mm.
as they had been for many years, but just for health reasons. Um, so the household has kind of dwindled a bit over the last several years, just partly because some people, like I said, have kind of graduated out, and partly because of just ability to participate. A lot of people just haven't been able to for one reason or another. So now, yeah, Diana's shaking her head too. We're not even sure if we could give
Right.
you a count right now.
That's fine.
There have at times that have been it's been huge. There was at one point. because originally there were three peer. Well, okay, not originally, but originally Mr. Selinger was the only peer, but then her twin sister, Alicia of Ashley, also was elevated, and then Eleanor's husband Olahan was elevated to the peer. So we had three peers. We had three laurels.
Wow.
We referred to ourselves as the progeny of the Trilaureate. It was kind of funny, but yeah. And at one point, with three laurels and all of their assorted apprentices, there was probably a couple of dozen of us. Um, and one time at Thor's Mountain, the baronial court, they called House Ashley up, and somebody out in the populace said, "Why didn't everybody else just step back? It'll be easier that way." And it wasn't far wrong.
How long did it take you before you became an apprentice? How long were you in the SCA before you took that step?
I 2 or 3 years, something like that. Um, we were Eleanor's first apprentices after she was elevated, and I don't remember what year she was elevated. Originally, I was apprenticed to Eleanor, and then when Olahan was elevated, we transferred my belt over to him because he and I were doing more things together.
Gotcha.
It just made more sense.
Okay, there's so many more questions I want to ask you. We'll have to do a part two, perhaps. But it's time for the final question of the night, which is what can the SCA do better?
Yeah, that's tough. Um, it there are a lot of things the SCA could do better. Okay, but saying all right, this one thing, any organization has room for improvement. I mean, clearly. Um, I think sometimes being willing to recognize people for activities that are not within the main focus of a particular peerage, um, but are still period activities, important activities, just not particularly under this one or under that one or under the other one or what, it's like there's not a good place to fit, but there needs to be some recognition. I know there is that Order of Valiance is one of the things that's trying to address that's been under discussion for some time. I have mixed feelings about that, but it could be an avenue for some of that. It's it can be frustrating at times to not be involved in some of the things or that could get the quicker recognition. Um, but I don't do it for I don't do what I do for recognition. I do what I do because I enjoy doing it, and so it's while it's at times it can be like, well, I wish I had X or I wish I had Y, to add to the alphabet soup behind my name, but I don't need it. I do what I do because I enjoy what I do, and if recognition comes along because of that, wonderful. And if not, I'll keep doing what I do because it's what I
That's
want to do.
what you do. And it sounds to me like a lot of the bards that do the Zoom bardic seem to really respect you and love you. They are, I don't, I know you can tell that I'm going back and forth, but there's so many people here that are watching, that are commenting on this thing, that you really have a lot of respect in the bardic community, and I can tell that just from the people that are commenting and watching this video.
I appreciate that, and there are people out there that in the Bardic community that I have uh, come to know and grown to really love uh, through what we've been doing, Inner Kingdom with the Bardic online Bardic circles.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being my guest tonight. I'm sorry about the technical issues. I'm so glad those got worked out, but it has really been wonderful to talk to you.
Well, thank you. It's been wonderful to be part of this. I've enjoyed it too.
Yay. All right. You have been watching Simply Skating, no title required. I don't know who our guest is going to be in 2 weeks because I'm waiting for some folks to email me back, but we will have a show in 2 weeks and then we'll take a break until the new year. Don't forget that we want to know the people that you think that should be guests on the show. Please let us know either using the form on our Facebook page or send me personally a message or send Simply Skating No Title Required a message. We would love to have you on the show, especially if you don't live in the East or the Mid Realm, because that's where Lucas and I live. So we just keep dragging our friends onto the show and we want to get new friends, just like I did tonight. Let's get some new friends on our show. Simply SCAdian, no title required. Thank you so much, Davock. I just totally said your name wrong.
Davock,
Davock Walker was our guest here on Simply SCAdian, no title required.
thank you.